In what seems like a never-ending legal battle over adding prison beds in Arkansas, a Pulaski County Circuit Judge rules against a law being debated for weeks.
Judge Patricia James issuing a preliminary injunction this evening against the law regarding the authority of the Board of Corrections versus the governor. Samantha Boyd's been following the legal drama. She was there throughout the day and portion of the evening for most of this hearing.
And Sam, in the simplest of terms, break it down for us. Explain exactly what this ruling means.
Yeah, Laura, definitely a lot going on today in the courtroom, but what this means basically is the Secretary of Corrections is now under the authority of the Board of Corrections rather than the governor, and what that means is the Board of Corrections now has the power to fire the Secretary if they choose to do so, but that seems pretty likely based on today's hearing. Now, this ruling today comes after a temporary restraining order had been granted in favor of the board against Governor Sarah Sanders and Secretary Joe Porfiry, putting this law on hold to begin with. The entire issue now started when Sanders and Attorney General Tim Griffin, along with Porfiry, called on the board to add more prison beds in a press conference last month to create more space. The board did approve adding part of those beds requested, but not all of them, saying it's not doable because of low staffing and even a lack of space. A former divisions director today actually claimed the secretary made comments about putting inmates in tents outside if necessary just to expand prison capacity in the state. Act 189, passed in the last legislative session, placed the corrections secretary under the governor rather than the board, which the board says violates Amendment 33 of the Constitution. This created a power struggle between the board and the secretary over that disagreement on adding beds. Testimony today indicated some serious concerns by the board and some witnesses about Secretary Porfiry's loyalty to the governor rather than the board and his leadership over the Department of Corrections. I spoke with the chair of the board, Biddy Magnus, today following the ruling, and the board's special counsel. Special counsel had to be brought in by the board separately since the attorney general usually would represent them, but has made clear he's on the governor's side in this case and is now suing the board in return.
Procedure that the attorney general was advocating for, we heard it. Oh, we'll sit down and we'll talk amongst elected officials. And what they were saying is, no, they were not going to allow this suit to proceed. And so I think it's essential. I think it's an essential feature of the law that there is an exit hatch outside of the grasp of the attorney general.
I'm not a political person. I didn't get on the board to be political. None of us thought this was or needed to be or was a political move. We just wanted to make sure and secure the vested powers of the Board of Corrections where we could properly manage it.
Now, I've also received a statement from Attorney General Tim Griffin within the last few hours since that ruling. It says, quote, "While I am disappointed in the ruling, I'm confident in the work of my extraordinary team of attorneys and staff and the case we are preparing an appeal to the Arkansas Supreme Court." Now, the Attorney General has sued the Board of Corrections over what he says is a violation of the Freedom of Information Act. That hearing is scheduled for later in January. Of course, I'll be there and continue to follow that and keep you guys posted. But as I mentioned, the whole issue right now is adding more prison beds in Arkansas and expanding capacity in state prisons. So I asked Chairman Magnus today after that ruling what he plans to do on that, since that still is an issue. He says he is planning on addressing that, still trying to find solutions, and he is willing to work with the state, the governor, and the Secretary of Corrections right now on that, even in what might be now an awkward situation. Reporting live from Little Rock, Samantha Boyd, KARK 4 News.